Welcome back, people. This is the 5th episode of Science or Sense with your host, Randy, and my co-host, Matt. How you doing today, brother?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. We got this new world of holograms coming through, and it is doing the most right now. I just want to get your take on it, the people's take on it, the world's take on it. It's here. It's been here since the late century, really, when they've been working on it with photography. It was still photography. It wasn't, like what we have today with moving pictures, as they say.
Right.
And, of course, video game systems, Microsoft's HoloLens, and so on and so forth. But we're going to get into all that. So,
okay.
First of all, let's just get some of the current events out of the way. This whole investigation thing, man, I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid talking about it, really.
For sure.
It really is. So, nowadays, it's like, okay, is it fake news? Is it real news? But this is a good distraction for whatever else is going on. I mean,
I know people's opinion of the mainstream media is kind of out there or whatever, but most mainstream media news is real news. Might not be the spin that you like or the take that you like, whatever, but it's still covering what is going on. So it's important. It's important to get that out there and listen to all different news sources to get a better picture of what's going on. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a very neutral and balanced
I try to stay that way as a scientist. I obviously have my own opinions, but
it's kind of hard because humans have a natural biases to do things,
Right. I mean, you're going to be in a different political party, and you're going to have your biases, but that's part of why I like science is making sure that you keep your own biases in check, and you look at a situation objectively and not subjectively, and try to do that as much as possible. It's difficult sometimes, especially now, but.
It's like, you're just testing my patience. You want me to say what I really want to say, but I know your tricks.
I tend to try to keep a level head about these things. So,
Well, that's good. I mean, at least we know that we're here. We're fair and balanced. We're not going to quote the whole Fox narrative because we're nothing like that.
No, they are not definitely fair and balanced.
But moving on to some more important things, the world of science is exploding right now. I mean, we have new technologies coming up left and right. Mm-hmm. Last week we had the whole gene therapy talking about the 23andMe and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So that was you really were going for a minute. You were like, oh my god, it was the internet, man.
Yeah. Gotta turn that internet off sometimes.
But so today we're moving forward past that to something brand new, and I think this is probably going to be the best episode. I'm touting that around because we are talking about holograms, people. The stuff that Star Wars was talking about. 80s babies rejoice. Okay.
Yep.
Now holograms. Let's go ahead and do a quick history of it. For people in the chat, I'm gonna put up a link. Let me just go ahead and get the prelude out of the way. Let you know what exactly holograms are. So, it's called holography. That's the study of it. It's the practice of making holograms. Typically, holograms start off as a picture forms, as I was saying earlier. People really weren't thinking about doing video or nothing with it, but it's what it is you're taking light fields and distorting the picture to make it have a depth of field esque feel to it. When you look at it, it's like, okay, it looks like a 2D still image, but then when you slightly askew it, it has this parallax effect. Okay. And parallax meaning just parallel images that are in 3 dimensions, people. And when you do that, it gives it a new perspective, still within a 2D plane. Right. So it's crazy how they had this since, let's pull up the first article, shall we?
Yeah.
Since 1947,
I know. I was
this.
actually really surprised when I saw that. I did not realize that it goes that far back.
And guess what? America wasn't first to do it. It was some cat from Hungary or Is it Hungary or Hungary?
Hungary.
Hungary.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It was a theory by Dennis Gabor. If I hope I said his name right. Dude was chilling out in the British Islands one day. He said, "Hey, you know what? I want to see something in a different resolution." And there's like, well, how are you going to do that? Well, they took a microscope. Use some kind of gamma scientific meaning and stuff. The link, look, folks, I'm trying to keep this simple because it's very complex. And I don't think in this 1 hour show we're going to have enough time to really even cover this. This might be even a 2-parter. Yeah. But with that being said, they decided to take gamma radiation and manipulate it using electron microscopes. And thus, parallax barriers were born, and then you have holography. Now, this thing has been evolved over and worked on since the 40s all the way up until today, really. Yeah. It's gone through the hands of people like Dr. His name is weird. I'm going to say his name wrong. It's German, okay? Emmett Leith. Emmett Leith.
Leith, I would say, yep.
All right, he took it to the next step by using an off-axis techniques. Then his boy, I'm just going to say his name, Jay Uptonix. These people are not American.
Sounds good. Yeah,
they're not they are not natives.
Mm-mm.
And then they pass it off again to Dr. Yuri N. Denisiuk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these names, people. I'm just gonna put the link in the chat.
Yeah,
but their names are kind of complicated.
The last one's pretty easy. 1972, Lloyd Cross. That works.
Okay, we're just gonna go with Cross.
Yeah.
Lloyd Cross. He was the last one to actually put it into motion form, which is
Right.
how we have it today.
Right.
So we have two big things here. Since you being a paleontologist, I sent you an article, and it shows how this technology is being implemented to
I saw that.
recreate. It's crazy, right?
But a couple things, like even crazier than that. Like obviously I'm a paleontologist, I love it. But the first time I saw what this is capable of is at Coachella. What was it, like 3 years ago when Tupac showed up as a hologram?
Yeah,
that was crazy.
I can take it one step further back. When I was a child, okay, went to the Getty Museum. It was back in '98 or '99, and we saw a dancing virtual baby at the Getty Museum.
Yep, they had that on a TV show that I was watching during that time. Yes.
When I saw that as a kid, I was like, "What?"
Yep. Yeah.
Now, fast forward. Now you got Tupac singing on stage.
Tupac singing on stage, and I remember the first time I actually came across holograms was in a video game. You're probably too young to know, but in Upland, there's a place called, I think they call it Boomers now.
Yeah, that was Bullwinkle's.
Yeah, it was Bullwinkle's.
Yeah, I remember.
So
you used to make pizza over there.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
So I'm a little bit older than you, but Bullwinkle's was the place to be when I was younger, and we'd go there with our pocket full of quarters and play video games. And I remember the day that they got this brand new video game that had a hologram. Basically, you look down on it from above, and it was like a half of a globe, or
was this Tron?
No, it wasn't Tron. It was like some Western. It's kind of like where you go back in time, kind of like a quantum leap type.
It wasn't Time Crisis, was it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, I can be shooting them off all
yeah,
day.
but no, this was like you had just a couple controls, and it was very simple. All you had to do was like it would flash, and you'd have to push a certain button, but the hologram was the game with what you were controlling, which was just, it blew my mind back then. Like, this is so cool. I wasted so much money on that game. And then it went away. And now I thought, this is going to be the future. There'll be games like this all over the place.
Well, there was. Virtual Boy came out. But it was like mono-colored and everything, and it gave people headaches.
Yeah. So this was there, and then after, I don't know, probably about a year, it was gone. I guess it didn't do too well because it wasn't that hard of a game. It was pretty simplistic, and but it was cool. And then that was it. You didn't really see much come of it at that point.
Well, it got revived.
It did.
It got revived.
Actually, Tupac, and if you follow,
I think they did Nas too. Yeah,
I think they did Nas, and if you follow politics at all recently, the French, somebody running for the French presidency did a hologram of himself to be in two places at one time.
They did the same thing with the Obama Mitt Romney thing on CNN.
CNN did the
hologram thing.
Yeah, they did that. Yep.
So here it is from the late 40s. Now we jump into the let's just say the 2020s, because that's what we're coming up on.
Right.
I mean, there's only 3 years left before we hit 2020.
Yeah.
We have holograms that are making their way into mainstream, just like how we had the smartwatches. We had, just look at your iPhone. I mean, people didn't think back in the day, touchscreens, capacitors, like, no, that's crazy.
Right.
But now it's like, oh man, what can we possibly do with this technology now that it's hitting mainstream?
Applications are popping up all over the place. Yeah.
And let's start off with your realm first, paleontology. Now, I sent you an article, and it's astonishing the pictures that they had to even render it back. The fossils, once living organisms, they brought them back into 3D models on a still image and video.
Right.
Now, as a paleontologist, what do you make of that? I mean, is it going to open up new types of dialogues within that realm? Because now it's like, okay, well, we can look at this cratolid or this give me another name.
Well, there's trilobites, there's crinoids, there's all these, and I mean, 3D rendering has helped a lot in paleontology, just because it allows you to take something that is, part of the issues in paleontology is you're dealing with something that has been obviously buried very deeply, smushed, and contorted, right? The fossil isn't exactly, sometimes they are, but not most of the time they're not exactly how they would have been in life. You kind of have to do some mathematics to kind of pull out, what they would have looked like before they were smashed under, miles of rock. And what we could do with 3D imagery anyway at this point is scan it, and then do some nice mathematical stuff and pull out like a 3D image of what that would have looked like. And now with 3D printers, you can then print it out and get a better idea of what it looked like. With this hologram technology coming out, there's no need to go that extra step of printing something out. You know,
it's right there,
right in front of you. And I automatically think to those like Iron Man, where he's
Jarvis,
where he's like moving things in and out. And you actually, if you're able to have something right in front of you, and kind of manipulate it and turn it around and look at it from different angles in real time, that's an invaluable tool. I mean, you can really pick apart an organism to find out about it, which is really cool.
Like how they did with the study here from Science Direct. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, folks, in just a second. I'm going to read the abstract. Yeah. Holography reveals the soft anatomy of ancient cephalopods. And now cephalopods, if people don't know, is just squids. Anything.
Squids, nautilus, octopi.
Yeah, and things of that nature. Just squid heads.
Okay.
But the abstract goes as follows. It is productive to view the suture lines on fossil cephalopod shells as simple Fraunhofer diffraction patterns can be inverted. Now, tell me, what's a Fraunhofer diffraction? Before we even get... Okay.
I don't know. That's not something I ever looked into.
So, in essence, the abstract is basically saying that now that we have these technologies, we can look at soft-celled or soft-tissued organisms.
Right.
Well, like if we had a jellyfish sitting right here, we can actually do a 3D model, a 3D hologram of it, and better understand its digestive systems, maybe how the neurotoxins work in the tentacles, things of that nature.
Right. I mean, part of the thing to recognize is soft-bodied organism. So a shell is obviously able to fossilize much better than soft-bodied stuff. Soft-bodied stuff doesn't fossilize very well, and when it does, it's usually left as, say, like a carbon imprint of that organism. But what we can do with those carbon imprints and those soft-bodied fossils is infer kind of what's going on within the body. So we can say, okay, here's the outline of, say, for instance, like a tentacle. Mm-hmm. And then if there's other kind of blobs, and it's kind of difficult to describe, but if there's a little blob here and a little blob there and a darker part here, we can then infer that those are, different parts of its anatomy. And if we feed that into a system that's going to produce a hologram, now instead of just looking at a blob of stuff on a rock, it now brings it out into a 3D, organism.
Now,
cool.
here's a science or sense question for you.
Okay.
Now, is it going to be science or does it make sense to go ahead and start, I guess, analyzing ancient fossils, but things that we have never seen for, like, let's take advantage of the, I don't know a scientific name, but the long neck, the thing that looks like Lapras from Pokemon. That's the best thing I can explain to you. It's an ancient sea creature that used to swim around, had a long neck.
The Mesosaur?
I think that's what it is.
Ichthyosaur?
Mesosaur?
Mesosaur, yep.
Now, if we use holograms, can we actually pinpoint where this origin of this species came from? Or is it just, going to be one of those things where it's like,
I think
it's
just
not going to benefit nothing?
I think it'd be to see it kind of whatever. But, I mean, we have a good idea of where their range is anyway, of kind of what their... what the species range was, like where we find their fossils and where those were in relation to where the continents were at a certain time in Earth's history. So I don't think it'll help with that, but I think it'll help in, I don't know, some of those larger organisms. I don't know if there's really much value other than just cool to see it in hologram.
So it doesn't make science or sense to do either one, huh?
I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be cool. I think it could be helpful if you're able to look at their anatomy, but other than that.
Let's put it to your favorite ancient sea creature, the trilobite.
Yeah.
What if they could do that with that creature?
That'd be cool. But more cool in the sense that you can then start looking at the way they behave. So trilobites, they enroll like isopods and roly-polies do today. They're very similar in the way they roll.
Yes, people, roly-polies are descendants of trilobites.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more of a... It's not just for coolness factor, but it's informative in the sense that you can see them in moving in a way that you can kind of manipulate it so you can see it in 3D. Much quicker, much faster than you can just by looking at an image on a computer screen. And I guess that's the value of it. I guess maybe it's just because I haven't dealt with it too much. I don't know how much more of a value it can produce. I don't know.
But as far as value, I mean, like, would it be more of a scientific endeavor, or would it just make sense? Like, okay, we got this technology, we can dive deeper into it.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that I don't think there's paleontologists that are out there trying to develop holograms, but if the technology is there and it's inexpensive and they can just apply it and see the results immediately, then why not use it, right?
This is well, that's the thing. It's like practical application,
right?
It's the answer within itself. It's practical application.
Well, and the educator in me thinks about I think fossils are easy for people to get excited about in class and things like that, but how awesome would it be for when I'm talking about trilobites or talking about any type of fossil in class to hit a button and all of a sudden there's a hologram rendering of that fossil.
That's what that Microsoft HoloLens is doing right now. I mean, I don't know what the price is because they always put the price out and then they retract it. It's like, okay, maybe that was too much or whatever, for PR for PR's sake. But from what I saw and what I've demoed, is that the HoloLens, it does just that. But the only thing is, it's only subjected to the one user. You can't do it en masse.
Right.
And I guess if you were to apply that in the classroom, would that actually garner more interest, or would that actually be like, this is just another gimmick for me to stay in school?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's all, like, we're trying to get what's called a topographic sandbox. I don't know if you've seen those. Not a hologram, but I could see how this could easily be put into a hologram application, where you have a sandbox and you have a projector above, and that projector is shooting down an image of topography lines. So topography basically just maps elevation on the surface of the Earth, and let's just say you have a flat sandbox, then it would just be, that would be your sea level. So it would be 0 would be the topography. Well, the minute you start building up a mound of sand, now topography lines start getting overlaid on top of that sand. It's like a
but you're
image.
seeing that in virtual
right,
real time.
You're seeing it's virtual. Right, it's a virtual topography map right in front of you, and that's just a very powerful tool to get the point across of what topography is and how landforms form. And if you run your hand through it and it makes a low point below sea level, it fills up with water, so you can show how oceans develop. But you can picture it. Take away that sandbox. Now you're able to do that just in a hologram.
And no mess.
And no mess, right. And you can do it, you don't have to have a sandbox, you just have a projector. And when you have that you limit, your space limitations are gone. Like right now, one of the things we're trying to figure out is where we're going to put this big sandbox. And so, yeah, I can see educational applications for this right away. Like, I think it would be an awesome thing to have.
I can see it now. It's like you're sitting in the classroom, you got the multicolored layers. It'd be like for superposition if you're doing geology and whatnot.
Yeah,
it's like
so many things.
And the application just for geology alone, before we move to the next subject here, it's like for geologists, it's like this is going to be great because you can check out faults, how far they're going to run down, and you can have a projection of like, okay, let's take the San Andreas since we're right on this bad boy. We're right there.
Right.
We can probably actually get a more in-depth analysis of what is taking place down there, or maybe how far it actually does rip across the states.
Yeah, and then there's a group in the UK working on this. It's not a hologram, but it's 3D imaging of the subsurface. So one of the main things, one of the most difficult things in geology is getting across what's going on in the subsurface to those who have never really thought in this way before. Like, how do we visualize 3D features beneath a surface of the Earth that we've never seen before? And there's all sorts of things that they're doing right now with trying to
aliens,
trying to like bring that out and give this I don't know, this visual to people that don't really have it otherwise.
But then, just before we segue, it's like then there's going to be that crowd. You know what crowd I'm talking. You're already you're squinting. It's like,
where are you going with this?
Here we go.
This is gonna be far-reaching.
It's the internet. Here we go. The aliens gave us this technology that shows what's going on. Humans are not capable of building these things, man.
Well, obviously, we are.
No, the Greys came down.
The Greys,
the Plagarians, okay, the Nordics, and all of them, the whole council, the 9. I can't do it today.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
It's not working.
Not today. No. But anyways, but let's go into a actual recent, or more, actually really recent application of this. If you people out there listen to this and ever heard of Halo, you know about this blue female named Cortana who hangs out with the Master Chief. They're lovers. If you know, they ship them together on the internet, even if they are or not, if it's canon, who knows? But somebody out there, the man's name escapes me at the moment, but has built a actual living prism for Cortana to exist. And I have a short clip of that right now, and I'm going to play it. But before I do, I just want to give you a little subtext. Holograms are now at the point where even the modern Joe, if they know what they're doing, of course, can build one in their own home. And it doesn't take that much. And I would say you probably can build one for under $1,000.
I would say so, based on what I saw in that video. I mean, that's what I was telling you before we started here. That I sent that video to my son and said, "Get going, man." My son codes in Unity and does this stuff.
Oh, that is perfect. He built that in Unity.
That's what he was saying. I'm like, I'm all, man. You know, let's do this because he's trying to design a video game now. I'm like, man, put this in your video game. What's up?
Let's have a listen, shall we?
Hey Cortana, will I need an umbrella today?
That's probably not necessary. The forecast shows sun with a high of 87 and a low of 68.
Hey, I'm Jerem Archer, and this is a concept Cortana appliance I've built. It's basically what I imagine Microsoft's version of Alexa or Google Home would be like if they were to use the holographic sidekick from the Halo franchise. So, this is a Pepper's Ghost hologram that uses Windows 10's native Cortana experience. It's all powered by a Windows 10 device with 4GB of RAM and a built-in Arduino used for controlling the platform lights. The software it runs is essentially in two parts. A Unity 3D app that presents and animates Cortana in 3 different camera angles and communicates to a second app, a proxy service that parses data going to and from the native Cortana web service. It also features real-time face tracking with the front-facing camera, which moves the rendered camera perspective relative to a single viewer's head position. Cortana's animations were recorded with the help of my lovely wife, who regrettably endured many takes of motion capture in our living room. I used dual connects to record her motions and applied them to the Cortana model in Unity. As you can imagine, since this is all using the native 10 Cortana, this device can not only be used for knowledge-based queries, but also home automation and music tasks too. I can perhaps demonstrate this in the future, but that's it for now.
All right, we're back. Sorry about the little lag. You know how the internet works. You know how it goes, Matt. The internet, it lags a little bit.
Lag.
But anyways, so we're back at it. So what do you think about that? It's like
I think it's cool.
The man built it in his own home.
Yeah, he has his wife do the modeling for the hologram. I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want a Cortana.
I know.
My Windows Phone doesn't cut it.
No.
And it's so sad Windows Phone is not getting its due diligence because it was a great platform. It is a great platform. I used it for at least, maybe 3.5 years before I switched to Android and all the other stuff that's out there. But
Yeah.
the holograms, people, if you have, this is better than Alexa.
I don't know what Alexa is.
You ever heard of Alexa? It's the Amazon little pylon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's like, I think that would be the future. That Alexa's great, but it's a VI. Cortana, at least in this application that we saw it in, that's more of a AI.
Right.
People are scared, like, oh no, we have the AI overlords. We're gonna get annihilated. Terminator, Judgment Day.
That could be a whole episode right there, because
Oh, and look now. See,
AI.
now you're getting into the
Oh,
fictitious stuff. See.
No, it's not fictitious. No, not at all.
Oh, so you think Skynet's real?
I didn't say anything about Skynet. I'm talking about AI.
Well,
Like the
yeah,
concept
course.
of AI.
AI. Well, if we have VI, which is just based on logarithmic grids and all that
Right.
stuff, and it just sends something to a server
Yeah.
and it gives
No,
it
you
back to
can talk about AI without incorporating in Skynet and stuff like that.
But
man.
that's they're coming back.
See, I don't.
They're coming back, Matt.
See, I like having conversations in the
The real
real
realm.
world. Yeah.
Okay, but you still have those.
You don't have to make that jump. You don't have to.
But it's out there. They
You
need
can-
a spokesperson.
Hey, we can have. Oh my god. We can have a conversation without jumping to extremes.
Okay,
Right?
so let's get back on track.
Yeah,
here.
back
So,
on track.
Okay, so you saw Cortana. It's
Yep.
built on the Unity engine. Like I said,
Yep.
you mentioned earlier, your son is trying to be a game developer,
Yep.
or is being a game developer.
Yep.
The thing is, if people can simply know how to code these things,
Mm-hmm.
what's to stop them from opening up their own enterprise? This is like
Oh, why not?
the
Yeah,
small
go
the
for
small
it.
business market right here.
Yeah,
You know,
I think there's definitely a market for it for certain things. Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think your son's already charging? Like a set
I don't
amount?
know.
Like we can.
I don't know. We'll see.
Because we're dabbling right now. It's like this is an exclusive, y'all. We're dabbling right now in a little bit of 3D printing. I just
Yeah.
came back from I think I told you about it before we left last week on that whole crazy genealogy 23andMe thing.
Yep.
The 3D printing.
Yeah.
I got invited to one of their events called Go Engineer. Shout out to them for inviting me. Thanks, guys. And now I'm like, okay, I'm so into 3D printing now. And even though I went to a expo up in Santa Clara and did a little documentary, it's like, I think that would be a good ambassador into the 3D holographic world.
Oh yeah.
Because think about it. I don't know if this ever came up in everyday conversation about holograms, just 3D printing. How many people are actually talking about it?
Right.
It's still relatively a new concept.
Yeah, it's getting less expensive, but it's still, I think the price point is still where not your everyday person can just get into it if they wanted to.
This is true, and that's one of the things I was talking to one of the technicians there. I was like, look, I'm a small business myself, and I do see an application for this, but right now the cost to to even indulge in this is way beyond the margins of what we can put down. So it's like holograms.
Who knows? Yeah.
But like I said, this cat built one in his own home. I mean, like I said, it just took some coating, a little bit of plexiglass, and then boom, there you go.
Yeah.
Or maybe some EV wire for some added effects. But
Right. I mean, obviously, you have to know. I couldn't do it. I'll admit that right now.
Well, no, your boy can do it.
My son can do it. I'm not. I mean, I'm somewhat computer literate, but not to that extent.
Would you really want a trilobite waking you up in the morning and
That'd
say,
be awesome.
"Hello, Matt"?
Crawling on my face. That'd be sweet.
Just you wake up and start slapping like your wife's like, "No, stop! It's not real. It's not real."
Yeah.
But anyways, we have one more topic, and this one's kind of heavy.
Yeah,
It is.
related.
It's everything's been related to holographic worlds, people. Because again, we kind of do live in that, in a way already with these Snapchat filters that we have, like applying. I don't know if you've seen, like they apply 3D holographic images.
So like a dog and their tongue comes out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but it's still stuck on a 2-dimensional plane.
Right.
There's no actual depth to their little caricatures just yet. But like if you look at your iPhone, ever since I say iOS either 7 or 8, they added that parallax effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a person who, well, it's an old article, and people, this is how long we already covered how long holographic's been around. But here's an article from a renowned, I guess, it doesn't say he's a PhD or nothing like that, but Larry R. Vandervert. He has this chaos theory, and
Well, it's not his chaos theory. We should get that out there.
It's not?
No, it's called chaos theory.
It read that way, though.
Well, he's applying chaos theory to the mind and brain interaction.
Okay, I'm just going to drop the title for y'all. Here it goes. Chaos Theory and the Evolution of Consciousness and Mind, a thermodynamic holographic resolution to the mind-body problem.
Yeah.
Man, that is a hell of a title.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to take this one because
Well,
this is a little more.
Yeah, so I mean,
your field here.
What he's looking into is this idea. Everybody's not everybody, but
Everybody.
those in, like
Everybody,
philosophers and psychologists and biologists and everybody has always for the last, I don't know, forever have tried to figure out what consciousness is and how our consciousness is different than other things in the animal kingdom.
Right, because we are considered animals and whatnot.
Right, and so why are we different? Why do we seem to have consciousness and others don't? So consciousness being just basically that we're aware that we're alive, that we are
The
aware.
mortality thing?
Yeah, we're aware that we are alive and thus aware that we will die.
Mm-hmm.
That we're conscious beings. There's no indication that say like an ant has that there have any type
At
of
least we haven't
consciousness.
found something that can
show
that, right?
Or even dogs, or we think that chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, have some level of consciousness. We can tell by some of their interactions that there's something there. We think that there's just a gradation to consciousness. So some people think that dogs have some level of consciousness.
Well, if you look at two dogs playing, you can see that there's some sort of communication going on there, and there's some sort of
but
emotion.
communication doesn't necessarily mean consciousness. So
how so?
Birds can communicate, things like that, but understanding. So there's a whole. So this is somewhat related, but theory of mind is another thing. So there's a certain point in our development when we're younger that children develop what's called theory of mind, where they're able to recognize that other people have a perception of life as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge step. We don't know that other organisms have that same thing. So this whole consciousness question is always a big question, and this guy is applying Edward Lorenz's chaos theory to the theory of mind. Now this is where it starts to get to the point where I'm not sure. It was a pretty heavy read.
It's very heavy. And here's
read.
the thing, folks. Like I have the links for you, but you have to have a. I don't know what it's like, some kind of clearance or something like that.
Well,
to
not clearance,
access.
but it's a database. It's a scientific database.
Yeah.
You might be able to go to.
I'm gonna put the link in there for him anyway.
Scholar.google.com.
Yeah.
And put in the title of the article, and you may be able to find the PDF of it. But
there you go. I just put it in the chat for y'all.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to have a database access through like a school or whatever.
Put it this way: it isn't common ground acquisition. It's
sometimes right. Sometimes this stuff is you have to have like a $250 a year subscription to whatever.
But I mean, this is what
journal.
the top folks are talking about, though. This is
yeah. I mean, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And this again, this is from 1995, and this conversation over consciousness and this that has been going on for a long time. But so anyway, this guy takes Edward Lorenz was a he was running studies back in the early 1950s. Yeah, he was doing models for climates and things like that, and he developed his idea of chaos theory. And it's that famous quote. It's basically the butterfly effect.
yes, our Hollywood movies love that.
Yeah.
stuff,
So
don't
does the flap of a butterfly wing in Argentina set off a tornado in Texas or something like that? That was based on this idea that since complex systems have a bunch of different variables, if you change the variables, any one variable by even just a fraction of a decimal point, then you can't make a prediction because the system, there's so many variables that the way they interact within the system.
So here's what you do: you just say random. That's it.
Kind of.
Just cop out and say random.
Right, for certain systems, for climate, or not climate, for weather models, things like that, which is why, weathermen can't say for sure that it's going to be, 89 degrees and sunny tomorrow. Because it could be 95 degrees and not.
Yeah, the
and
planet does
partly
what
cloudy.
it wants.
Right. For the most part. Now, this doesn't hold true to climate, but.
Oh, no, we covered that.
Yeah, we've covered that before.
Already.
Long scale systems, which are, we can talk that some other time, but. Anyway, so what this guy does in this paper is he takes this idea of chaos theory and says that this theory of mind kind of thing, where the consciousness and mind are two things that are interacting within the brain, at least as far as I could tell from this article.
Right.
That if we can map that, and this is where the holograph comes in, that if we can map, we have sensors and we have all these things, we have CT scans, MRI scans, and if we can map what's going on in the brain and start to diminish the variables and start having an idea of how these things are interconnected,
then accuracy goes up.
Then we could get a better idea of what's going on with respect to consciousness. So his basically using a holograph to better image what's going on in the brain will allow us to get a better picture of consciousness and mind and how these things interact.
But so here's the thing. Once let's just go ahead and run the realm of that it happened. We mapped it. Now we see what consciousness looks like in a 3D virtual environment, but it's still tangible in some regard. What does that change?
Nothing. I don't think anything.
He's like, we got this great lead up, and it's just like, okay, this is what we got.
I mean, I guess you could start. I don't know. Again, this is 1995. Where we are now, and this is where part of these questions, and this might segue really well and really nicely into AI, is if we understand consciousness at the level of the brain and the mind at the level of the brain. I'm not so sure that they're separate. That's where I kind of have issues with this article. And we map them, and then we're able to feed that information into an AI system. Now an AI has consciousness, and then what? Right?
And it's going to want to have rights.
Yeah,
and it thinks it's alive.
Right. Then we get into, so part of the argument for the way we treat animals and things like that is, they're not conscious beings, so whatever. Well, what if we have a computer or a robot that is conscious, and they tackle this thing like iRobot and all these things.
See,
like
now
that,
you get into the Lawrence Krauss territory when he was talking about these sort of things.
Yeah, well, Lawrence Krauss and Sam Harris and people that are really, even Neil deGrasse Tyson has debated this, and there's two sides to this. There's one side that says that AI will never get to the point where that's an issue, and there's another side that says, well, you have to think very carefully about that because it could very well easily get there.
Well, if it's learning from everything that humans have taught it, that's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
So
and with the internet now,
that's mainly cesspools.
Everything is on the internet, right? You can find a haven for any type of thought process, and deviant all the way up to the best thought process you could possibly have.
So there we're back at square one, Matt. It's that Libra scale. Which way is this going to go? In your purview, I think I like to be optimistic, but I'm pragmatic at the same time. So it's kind of hard to say, oh, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be living with AI. We're going to have flying cars finally, not helicopters. But
yeah, no, I don't think we'll have flying cars. But
yeah,
I'm with this AI thing. I'm on the camp that says that we need to be careful. I'm definitely on that camp. That, yeah.
You're just being reasonable. That's what it comes down to.
Not that it'll be like Terminator 2, in 20 years or something like that. Skynet. But
I don't
think that. I'm not that. But And not even like, I don't know if you've ever seen that horrible movie. No, I wouldn't say it's horrible, but Eagle Eye.
Oh, okay.
Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Well, maybe I guess another example because a lot of people kind of dismiss that movie. They didn't want to watch it.
Yeah.
But AI the movie.
It was entertaining. Oh, I haven't seen AI the movie.
With the kid that was the same kid that starred in the Star Wars movie. The Phantom Menace. I don't know his name.
Hayden Christensen.
Well, that's the
the little kid.
Yeah, the little kid. He was the same one.
Oh, okay, no, I didn't.
In the AI movie, and they was talking about how what happens is these couple. Not a spoil. Well, if you ain't seen this movie, it's been out for like over 10 years. So so I ain't really spoiling nothing. But basically, it's about a couple who can't have a kid, so they adopt the AI one, and they were part of the experimental program. It's like, okay, look, we're gonna give you this AI kid. He's gonna grow up like a natural human being, but he's gonna think he's a human being, but you guys know he's all machine.
Right.
But everything that's going to tell you about it, he's the real deal.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, that's a good explanation. Like, what happens when an AI achieves consciousness, and it was built to have consciousness.
Right.
So that if you haven't seen the movie, again, it's called AI. And then there's also Ex Machina that just came out a while ago.
And those are I mean, like iRobot to me. I don't. So this is where I kind of you have to. I don't think iRobot is.
Did this become an AI episode?
Maybe. But I don't think iRobot is how things would be. Not anytime in the near future.
Oh no, we're a long ways from that.
But I think that some of the aspects of that movie are things that are questions that we need to ask and answer before we get into this too much. And yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of questions that we can go over with, once robots start looking human-like and acting human-like. And
I mean, we have that, but they're in the sex industry, though.
Right, yeah. Right.
The sex, though, like the Telegraph UK did a whole article on it. It was like, okay, there's some AI out there. Oh, no, it's more VI. It's not AI just yet, but it's so close to being AI because it can move. It has limbs. It can talk to you. It can respond to whatever you're saying, and like give you eye contact.
Well,
all that.
I forget if I told it. So at MIT in the robotics division, they're starting to add in robotic ethicists. That is basically there to keep the science. Not that the scientists wouldn't keep themselves in check, but to make sure that they're asking the right questions related to the ethics of these things. So
what are the right questions?
So there's a lot of things that people just don't think about. Like one of the things that was brought up, so these dolls that are in the sex industry that are robotic and looking more and more realistic, there are ethical questions. So you can just go deep into this. What if you make an adolescent robot that is for right?
I see where you're going.
So what are the ethics of that? Is that
this is supposed to be this was going to be the greatest episode ever.
So we don't have to go into that question, but those are questions that need to be asked ethically. Is that wrong? Or if it serves as a prescription for not having it occur in the real world, is it then okay?
Let's ask our holographic interface Cortana. Cortana. But in all seriousness, though, like this was supposed to be a holographic episode, and it did transpire into AI, and that's fine.
But
I like how
they do touch on each other, I think, for the most part. Where
look at the Cortana thing we just went over.
Right, Cortana could be thought of as it could definitely easily become AI, and then you're merging these two ideas and concepts, and they're going to interplay. Like it's not they're not.
You can't have one without the other.
They're not independent of each other. They're gonna develop together.
But what if they were mutually exclusive? What if? I mean, in your purview, like I have my thoughts on it. I think it's be like, okay, holograms are holograms, AIs are AIs. AIs are like the physical versions of a hologram.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
Those same questions that we just pulled up with the other thing, they arise, and there's actually laws on the books in some countries and other countries that deal with this already.
Oh, we have that here with the self-driving cars.
Right, but I'm talking about like things like online. It is in some countries it is legal to have not a hologram, but let's say a computer generated adolescent carry out various on-screen things for you.
I see where you're getting. Okay, so
but in some countries it's against the law to do that because it's just the act of having that image there is wrong.
Oh boy, this becomes like a gray area now.
Right. I think that for me they're very interesting questions, but
Mhm.
they are hard questions to tackle. Because they're ethical questions and they're questions of they're societal questions and there's things like that.
But
So
see, you're saying it's societal, but then it's like, okay, well, what does your society consist of? Is it
Right.
is a religious state? Because if it is, that's going to change the
Right.
whole
Right.
infrastructure of how you do things. Just
Right.
like how here we're supposed to be more of a republic, but it's like, okay, well, we do things more as a democracy. So
well,
it-
we're a democratic republic. We're a democracy.
right, but but I'm saying our viewpoint, it can transform the world. So if we're the leaders in that, it's going to push those ethical boundaries on someone else who may not see the world as we do.
Right.
It's going to cause that tension, like we were
It
just
could.
saying.
It could. Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's why these robotic ethicists and AI, people that are.
but then who are these robotic ethicists? That's the question. Then you got to vet
They're
them.
people that are well. They're not believe they're not be so. It's people that are studying that are
Uh-huh.
that are basically ethicists, but have taken on this new position of a new realm of that we haven't really focused on before. So they're doing the right thing. They're saying, look, we need to make sure that we have our thoughts and our ideas on this emerging technology in check. Because if we don't, it could get out of control really
It's
quickly.
almost here. That's another reason why.
Yeah.
That's probably why they're doing it, right? Because they know that this technology, it's here, but it's not mainstream yet. But it's to
Right.
the point where it's like, okay, it can be 5 years, maybe 3,
Yeah.
depending on whatever they feel like jumping to.
So they're making sure that they have things built into systems
Mm-hmm.
that account for possible ethical situations later on. Yeah.
So, well, that's basically the topics we covered. I mean, it got heavy at the end. We left some people
did,
with some
and that's
substance.
fine. That's
I,
good. I think
no,
that's
I do like that. It's just like I should have probably named it Holoworld and Beyond.
and beyond.
Yeah, I might change the title before I upload it. But yeah,
maybe,
Holoworld
maybe
and
it could
Beyond.
segue, if people are interested, and we can talk about AI stuff and some other
Actually,
things.
the next episode was going to be about AI.
Oh, okay.
It,
Nice.
no, it really was
Yeah.
because it's going to deal with the spectrums of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
How? Okay, spoiler. You just getting the early episode sneak peek. It's going to talk about our artificial intelligence is nothing but human intelligence virtualized.
Right.
So it's whatever humans have indexed over millennia or just time on this earth
Yeah.
has now been transposed onto the virtual realm, and it can also be applied in the physical medium.
Right. But yeah, and then that can be taken if we take Marvel. I forget that guy's name.
Not it's Jarvis, but he's
Yeah.
called something else
Yeah,
once
he's
he
called
gets the
something else.
Infinity Stone.
But right. So then, so you can take that
Oh, it's gonna bug me figuratively now.
he pulls from so many different places. So this level, this section of the internet says one thing, and this one says another thing, and they may never know each other. But this AI is able to pull those together and then form a more informed decision.
It's using
based
like
on that.
tags and
Yeah,
keywords
yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah, so that's something that's factored
Okay,
into it.
damn it,
Yeah.
now I gotta look them up.
I know.
I gotta look it
don't-
up. It's
I
gonna
don't know his
figuratively
name.
bug me. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it is Jarvis though. Yeah, when he gets the Infinity Stone, he's something else.
Let's see here, Jarvis. He becomes. No, not. Wait. Oh, Jarvis, just a rather very. Oh, so there was an acronym. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Jarvis, that was an acronym for his system for Iron Man or Tony Stark's system.
Yeah,
But
just.
then he became something. The Eye? No, not the Eye. I don't know.
It's bugging.
I know. So I'm not one of those Marvel geeks. I like the movies, but I don't know enough about them to. I don't geek out on them.
Mm.
I'll watch the movies, but I don't
Yeah,
geek
and
out on
it's
them.
like it's weird. I can't find this on the internet. It's like I don't even know what to search. Like, what is Jarvis's real name?
Yeah.
Anyways,
We'll figure it out.
yeah. It's,
Sorry to leave you guys hanging.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things. I don't want to just have dead air. But anyway,
Yeah.
so here's the last bit of the segment. Like 2 episodes prior to this, we had some open-ended forums to close out the session.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, if you had 3 things to go ahead and choose that you would like to see holograms of, like application-wise, what would it be? Give me your 3, and I'll give you my 3.
Oh, I would say, well, for me, obviously around geology-based educational holographs. So being able to put, a rock outcrop in a hologram and be able to manipulate it. So to show a fault happening in real time in a hologram would be awesome. So that's one. Video games. I'm a gamer. I like playing video games. I think having a hologram video game in your home would be a pretty sweet application.
We kind of got that.
Yeah, I'm
We
sure
kinda got
there
that.
is. I just
not AR, the VR experience right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and then third one. Yeah, I don't know on the third one. Maybe I don't know. TV shows. That might be kind of interesting.
Like you're sitting in a virtual audience kind of.
Yeah.
And you're like,
We're
you're
like on
there.
your coffee table. There's a The Big Bang Theory is playing out like in a hologram on your coffee
And
table.
it's in 3 dimensions. That
Yeah.
would be cool.
Yeah.
Like you're watching them walk around the lab.
Right.
And the camera angles are shifting.
And if you get up and
Yeah.
you turn around, like your eyes are the camera, right? So if you want to get up and see a different perspective, you can do that.
It's like, oh, what's going on behind old boy's
Yeah.
back, or
Yeah.
what's going
Or
on?
what?
in the
Or
coffee
what if
shop?
you're able to choose? Say, I want to go into Sheldon's first person view, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
now see,
See?
that's clever.
Mhm.
Points, sir.
Yeah,
Points.
thanks. Yep. Don't
So-
take my idea, anybody out there.
It's too
It's
late.
mine.
You already put it out there. It's like Hollywood's like,
All right, give me some credit then.
okay, his name is the Vision.
Yeah, that's it. There you
That's
go.
it.
The vision.
I had to get it. I
That's
found
right.
it.
All right, good.
But so here's my 3 holograms. Just like you, I'm a big video gamer. I used to play it like super heavy before started doing the radio show and all that. But I would want a light suit. Holograms making hard light, so you can maybe because
a light suit.
like imagine like I was in the military, so it's like we always had like this heavy Kevlar on.
Mhm.
Now imagine if you had a suit of armor made out of hard light. I mean, is that too far fetched? I mean, Mass Effect does it with the Sentinel class.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like I'm saying, it's a holographic interface, like the Omni tool.
Right. But so like if a bullet hits it, it doesn't do anything.
It deflects it because it's made of hard light. Instead of having ceramic plates or any type of ballistic gel or Kevlar,
Right.
you would have hard light, which would be able to stop it because I guess the transitional forces would be so.
The
I
repellent,
guess
yeah. I guess I've never heard of
cancel
hard
out.
light. I've never heard of that. Like a laser.
It's just imagine like a prism or a level of the spectrum of light, and you can manifest it into a physical form. It's not just via infrared
Right,
or
right.
through a spectrometer or anything like that. It's visible light that you can touch. Like think
Yeah.
of your glass, like
Right.
a glass phone. You just touch it. Oh, okay, it's hard light, and it has like a weird
Yeah.
noise to it.
Yeah.
I would like that. That
Okay.
would be so cool.
All right.
Secondly, would be again another video game one, the Omni tool, which is basically everything you would need in your hand. Like no RFID chips, none of that stuff,
Yeah.
folks. None of that New World Order stuff. But here,
Don't.
hey, come on, it's out there. People talk about these
Someone-
things.
yeah, they do.
But it'll be the Omni tool, which is also made of hard light. It doubles as a weapon, a utility, a flashlight, a cell phone. It's everything built into a holographic interface. And I'll show you some pictures
Yeah.
once the show's over. Lastly, I know this is not going to happen, or maybe it will, but I probably won't live to see it. None of us will. But holographic vehicles, like a la Tron, like light cycles.
Isn't that so? Okay, this may be just my ignorance on holograms. So isn't that then not a hologram anymore?
Well, you conjure it up or you summon it.
Right, but it's not a physical thing. Like
Why-
It's,
why-
it's all
why
based
couldn't
on
it be?
because it's all light.
But that's what I'm saying. Light in itself, when you look at it through a prism, it's a holographic interface.
Right,
It shows
but
that.
Right, but it's not a
Don't rain on my parade,
but
Matt.
no, but
Don't
it's not a
rain on my
firm-
parade.
It's not a firm structure. I guess I don't know how. I've never.
That's why it's science fiction. That's why I said
Oh.
if it was possible.
Oh, okay, I
that's
got you.
just-
Okay, all right,
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. If it was possible.
Okay, that would be cool.
Mass Effect has that.
Okay, I see.
Metroid has that sort of.
Okay.
And then Tron kind of demonstrated that, but it was virtual.
Okay.
But I was just saying, like, if you could find a way to harness light,
Like the Green Lantern type stuff.
precisely.
Okay, I got you.
It's
I got you
it's holographic, but it's made of light particles.
I feel that. Okay.
So that's why I said hard light. It's been in science fiction. I'd say probably it might have been around a lot longer. So after going over today's lesson, it's like, oh wow, it's been around since the 40s. But hard light, from what I've researched, has only been around since maybe the late 2000s.
Yeah, I just don't know. So like, it's one of those things where like teleporting has been around in sci-fi for a long time, but the chances of ever being able to teleport ever is practically nil. So
Wow.
I would put
Optimistic
that,
Matt. I
would,
love it.
Well, yeah, I would put that on the same realm as hard light, but that's just me.
Well,
Just because of the properties of it, I don't think the properties of it. While in theory that possibly that could be the case, I don't think that they technically in the real world allow for that
why
property.
not? Why not? Okay, I know we're
For teleporting?
Well, yeah.
Or-
If we're talking about hypothetical, we'll put hard light a pin in it because we got about 10 minutes before the show's over.
Yeah.
So let's go with the teleportation first.
Yeah.
Because they have done that with particles where they see a particle go through maybe one chamber of access and then it shows up in another.
Right.
But it's like it's sub-particle version of it. It's
Right.
not. It's like a copy.
Right.
But it's still there, existing in two places at once.
Right. But if we think about what we are, like we are hundreds of trillions of atoms that are, connected together, bonded together in a certain way. And other than just our body, the way that that's constructed, if you take our brains have trillions of neutrons and neurons
Yeah.
and all of these things interacting
Yeah.
in a certain way to make us us.
Okay.
The amount of data that is required to do this and do it right is astronomical. And to think that it would
But
be
it
able
isn't
to
impossible.
no, that's what I said. I said I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm saying that it's practically nil. The probability of us getting to the point where we'd be able to do that would be practically nil. Because how's it going to reassemble with your brain in exactly the same exact configuration as it was when you got disassociated? Every single atom in your body would have to be disassociated and put back in exactly the same spot. It just it defies.
Well, if you look at it, just real quick, if you can disassemble it, you can reassemble it. It's just like if you put yourself into like a puzzle situation, how'd you get in it? The way you got in is probably the same way you can get out. It's one of those things.
But now you're getting into this whole chaos theory thing. Right now in our brains and in our bodies, there's so many things going on right now, hundreds of millions of things going on, and every single
Yet it's all working in unison.
Millisecond. And if you break that all apart,
God.
All right, that's wow. Okay,
Just throw that out.
yeah,
there.
that's a conversation ender.
No, but okay. Let's just say we got 7 minutes left. So let's conclude on this then. Okay, if that's almost implausible in the grand scheme of things.
Probable. Yep.
Well, because it's still plausible. That's why I said I don't know if implausible is a
Not-
word,
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's plausible.
again, if you can disassemble it, you can reassemble it. You just got to put the pieces back together the right way. And since you said it's all working in a millisecond, you just have to do it in the right time. Like you got to time it. You still saying no? That's why it's hypothetical.
How are you going to map what neutron and neuron is going on at exactly this moment to know that when it gets put back together again, it needs to be put together in the exact same spot?
Faith.
Wow.
Okay. Well, then let's not even go into the hard light thing because it's going to be the same thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think hard light will be more likely, more probable than teleportation. Yeah, I would think.
Think about space bridges from Transformers. You walking on holographic light, and it's physical. It's going through a spectrum. It passes through something. Now, I'm not saying how to build the damn thing. I'm just saying you can do this. So, on that bombshell, we're going to conclude today's episode of the Holoworld. We thank all the people that did show up. We had over 10 people in the lobby, so
Thanks,
that was
everybody.
pretty cool. Since we're going to take off here, I'm going to leave you guys on some Logistics Electric Sun. I'd like to thank my co-host here, Matt.
Thank you.
As always,
Been a
it's
pleasure.
great. Yep, it's always coming in. So you guys can
Always
check us
fun.
out next week because we still got time, right? Before take breaks and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Next week for sure.
until then, we'll catch you on the next one. And remember, if it don't make science, it don't make sense. All right, see you later.
See ya.